we're going to talk about that. But the other thing is we were going to mention, and you could address that, is the things you don't see. For example, Todd, with his neurofibromatosis, he has a seizure disorder. And we were going to maybe spend some time talking about what we should do if you were in a situation where someone has a seizure. In a workout situation, how would you handle it? It's probably something you haven't given much thought to, or maybe if you have, it's good to kind of review it. And we thought that might be an interesting thing to talk about a little bit. I don't know if you want to talk about why you maybe have seizures and what.
Well, I have seizures due to NF1, and they all started about 7 years ago. I just became kind of spacey, just kind of like I would just space out, and people, Todd, what are you doing? And I'm thinking, I lose time, and it doesn't happen very often. Just maybe one month I just kind of space out. But if I'm at the gym, I have to be very careful, especially if I'm doing dumbbells, whatever, and I could just space out. I could, drop a weight, But I've told other trainers in the gym I keep medicine on me in case that were to happen. I don't have a classic grand mal seizure anymore. I just kind of space out, become not coherent.
Do you guys know what a grand mal seizure is? Does that term make sense to you? Okay. I'll tell her. You would tell them what that is? Or?
Basically, it's just a classic. Just roll her backwards and gasp and can't breathe and convulse.
Like that's what you usually think of as a seizure. If somebody hits the floor, they're all over the place. So that term is grand mal seizure. That's the medical term for it. Interestingly enough, most people have a seizure disorder. That's not what happens.
Correct.
And that's kind of what we want to talk about. It's a lot more subtle than that. For example, Todd could have what they call them aura seizures, and that's where it almost is like they're out of their body for a second. And so what would you do if you were in that situation with someone? And it's very difficult because sometimes you don't know what's going on. And I guess what we wanted to encourage is if you're in an environment is to show your bracelet.
So just a medical alert bracelet with his number on it, and it says it has seizures. And I think it has medicine in pocket, which, leave it on me.
So that was going to be what we were going to suggest is if you're in an environment lots of times you may just want to be real observant to look around and see if somebody's wearing one of those.
Or a necklace, sometimes with medical bracelet on there.
Right.
Because, and they'll just have most people have medication on there.
So the second thing is if you notice one of those, what should you do? Right? What should be your action? If you're like in a classroom situation or you're teaching a class and you see something that looks a little like a bracelet, what should you do? So what we wanted to sort of suggest is that you should go talk to them. That should be you should not be bashful about approaching them and talking to them about it. And then finding out the details from them. They would actually appreciate it if you would do that. Would you agree, Todd?
Right.
So I think, when you met Todd, Tarryn, did y'all talk about this, or did he get a chance to?
Yeah, I know the backstory, but Todd, if you don't mind, I guess that'd be good to kind of give it. I haven't told anybody in here. Nobody knows Todd's backstory.
I have seizures due to NF1, it's neurofibromatosis, which also one of the symptoms is a curvature of the tibia, which my leg was amputated 42 years ago. Because I wore a leg brace from the age of 3 to 13, and I had constant leg pain, But the day my leg was amputated, my pain went away. And I didn't wear a prosthetic for a year because the doc wanted my stump to heal, but it never held me back. Because I was so limited growing up as a child, having a leg break and a brace for so long. At 13, I decided I'm not going to be a prisoner. I'm going to get out there and be physically active. Ride a bike and just go to the gym and not let hold me back. Because there's no limitation. It's only on your mind.
Do you guys know what neurofibromatosis is?
Some people used to call it elephant man disease, where tumors can go inside, outside the body. My older brother has it, and he also has scoliosis, which is curved tibia. Mine was pseudoarthrosis with the tibia. My tibia was curved like this, and it broke right here. And then that's where they chose the amputation. But I have no regrets. Some people call it phantom pain, which is no pain, but yeah, I can still feel my foot. I always will. That was like 42 years ago. And but I just like working out, going to the gym every day, and just keep my body in motion because you have to keep doing that.
Yeah, so we sort of work under the theory that you might want to ask yourself, so if he could have a seizure any second, which that's the psychology that can happen to him anytime, why would you chance going to the gym and put yourself in that environment to work out? You know, what would you?
You can't. You have to keep living.
Right, and so you sort of already realize the person with a seizure disorder who's put themselves in that environment, they realize what they're in, so they appreciate any help you could proactively give them, because they're probably not going to ask for it. And that would be a very helpful thing if you took the time to approach someone, you see them a bracelet, and go ahead and talk to them beforehand and find out about their situation. Like in Todd's case, he has medicine with him. And so I know he's talked to Tarryn at the gym and some other folks. So if he starts to space out for a second, you could give him, you might already know, like, well, I know he's got medicine, I can reach in his pocket and give him a half a pill. And you've already talked to him about it, and you've already, gone over it with him. So when it does happen, you're not in this sort of panicky state of mind. You've already sort of prepared. I guess that's kind of the message, is that unlike someone who's CPR or maybe a cardiac arrest, you guys are probably all CPR certified or got to go through all that. Somewhere you're going to have to go through that. I know I am. I guess Tarryn probably is. We all anybody in this industry has to be. So they prepare you for that, but for a seizure disorder, you almost have to talk to the person beforehand. And that's one of the.
It doesn't last long. It's just maybe a few minutes.
Have you ever seen anybody have a seizure? Anybody? Y'all have? What was it like a grand mal or?
Yeah.
Was it scary?
No, my brother's best friend has epilepsy.
Oh, does he?
It happened, the very first time it happened, it was a little weird for me, but my mom handled it rather well. But after that, we all knew how to handle it. We read on it and he showed us what to do with that.
Yeah, so you got prepared, right? Once you knew, then that's kind of the key, is to kind of make sure you're ready for it. Did you say you saw someone too? Or?
Yeah, I went to school with someone who had epilepsy also.
Most people have seizures, it's epilepsy.
Correct.
But people who have NF, they are also subject to, a lot of them are subject to
But
seizures.
not all.
Not all of
have
them.
seizures either.
But so lots of times it is mostly epilepsy, but it's good to kind of realize other populations may be subjected to it too.
Right.
Do you ever know that they're coming, the seizures?
I feel like disconnected. Sometimes I feel like I'm in two places at once, which is kind of hard to explain. Maybe a lightheaded, and then I get like a few seconds warning, like I need to sit down and stuff. But it's never happened at the gym, but it's, that really happens.
How long do they last?
Just a couple of minutes. I mean, maybe a minute and a half, not long at all.
The aura seizures that he has, because he doesn't remember them, so I see him when he has them. So he's like, he'll joke like, we could tell him he had a seizure right now, and he would be like, oh, okay, sure, whatever you say.
I thought you were supposed to.
Yeah, because the time is completely lost. But for him, the actual aura seizure part sometimes only lasts 30 to 60 seconds. But then afterward, you're usually disoriented, right?
But year before last, it was the day before Palm Sunday. I was going to Publix and had a seizure in the parking lot where I live. I fell and I cracked my 6th and 7th rib, and a neighbor found me. And
he doesn't remember it.
And I don't remember coming. It was the middle of the day, and the doc put me, and I was in pain for like 3 days, and they changed my medication, and I felt better.
So that brings up another thing we're talking about, is a lot of the time when a person has a seizure, they're very disoriented. They may be actually hurt and not aware of it. So you might want to be extra observant if anything hurts or anything like that. And of course, the thing to do at that point is call 911, right? But they may not be actually aware. Like, I don't think we didn't really realize he cracked his ribs until like a day
and
later.
So I couldn't sleep for 3 days.
Because he didn't remember it, and he said, my ribs hurt a little.
Are you able to drive because of
No, I don't. And that's a good thing, because I've always had bad luck with cars, for one thing. But several years ago, as far as on medicine, I borrowed his car. I just at lunch all the day. Next thing I know, hit the back of a Linux cab.
Yeah, that was a bad day.
And that was probably what happened if I had a seizure, was just had lunch. And I didn't know it coming.
Legally, from what we're told, if you have a seizure disorder and you've been diagnosed with it, you're not supposed to drive 6 months after you've had a seizure. The odd thing about that law is it's totally unenforceable, right? There's no record of anybody having a seizure. If Todd had a seizure yesterday, there's no police record of that. So but the idea is that we've made the decisions where it's okay to take a chance to go to the gym because you just can't live your life sheltered. But when you put yourself behind the wheel of a car, you put other people's life in jeopardy. And so that's sort of the driving force of that decision. You haven't drove it.
No, but see, I live up in the neighborhood where the gym is, so I walk everywhere, so that's good, so. Yes.
I don't think I've asked you, how many steps do you average a day about roughly?
What's that, walking?
Yeah.
Oh, a lot.
Everywhere. We're probably the last two people on the planet who haven't got one of those devices.
But you know what, I should get one of those because I walk everywhere. It means to the bank and you see me everywhere walking.
Yep.
Honking and waving.
Yeah.
But I don't know, most of the day. I mean, but it's good.
And then is a good question. Do you guys do the medical, the Fitbits, everybody? Are we the last people
What's the
that don't
average?
have one?
It really depends. For me, my average is in between 5,000.
Yeah, that's usually because you're walking around.
But that's good to know, like, I mean, walking to the gym and after gym and walking home, going to the
We keep talking about giving one form because they can also monitor your heart rate. And when you have a seizure, lots of times your heart rate fluctuates. So that's the other reason why we should do that.
Yeah, sure.
Good idea.
Yeah, my question is, it sounds like your seizures, the symptoms sound like similar to like a panic attack. Like, what's the difference?
You know what, it's very similar. For me, one of my symptoms of having NF is like sometimes anxiety attacks, not all the time. But like going to Whole Foods sometimes, it's like I'm okay in large groups, but every once in a while it's just, have to get out of here. But I do have anxiety.
So I think maybe what you're asking is what could trigger one of these also. And the interesting thing about it is I kept a log of his seizures and I've tried to keep like what was going on at the time. And we've had a tough time other than maybe stressful situations can seem to trigger them, but I've even like tried to do crazy things like the phases of the moon, or anything like that. But none of that really matters. So we were just kind of having some fun with that, to be honest with you. But the stress can trigger seizure. I don't know if your friend has the same situation, but interesting enough, if you're in a gym situation or a workout situation, when you put your body in stress, that could raise that.
Or if you're waiting for a machine.
Yeah.
Oh no.
If somebody won't get off the machine.
No, but sometimes you notice it's every certain times of the month, isn't it? It's like a pattern. Like every 30 days they'll come, and they usually are like maybe last like maybe 2 days in a row where I'm in and out, but not bad. Just come just out of it.
The other thing we wanted to encourage is it's better to be safe than sorry. That if somebody, if you said some people, they would rather you come up to them and say, hey, are you okay? And if you think anything's coming and then be fine, it's not going to offend them. I guess that's what I'm saying. You would be better off to be more proactive. If you think somebody looks like they're getting a little spacey, or maybe you might want to go over some of the symptoms too that you have when you or seizure. So that might be good.
I just feel a comment, just feeling disconnected, and inner voice says you got to sit down, just but. And even though it's better to be safe.
I will tell you a couple of them too that I've observed that he doesn't get to see is, first of all, and this one's a weird one because lots of people, when they're in a workout environment, they're sweating, but he will get overly sweaty and pale, like super drenched. Like you can almost see the sweat running off of him. So I know when people are working out, that's a tough one because people are sweaty anyway. But it will like hit him like he's just walking, then boom, like water will start literally coming out of him. In his case, he will get pale. But the other thing you might want to look for is look at their pupils. You've probably seen this with your friend. You will notice dilation of the pupils. And it'll look really weird because it's not natural. And you won't perceive it at first because you're not used to looking at it, but try to look at somebody's pupils. So if they're uneasy, looking like they can't, and then of course the last one, in Todd's case, he usually can't talk. Like if you come up to him and say, are you okay? And he looks at you, don't respond, then that means he's probably having what we call an aura seizure. And it will probably last for about 30 to 60 seconds. But then afterward, for about 15 minutes, he could be a little disoriented, like not know what day it is, and something like that. The one thing I would encourage you is, if that happens and they're not hurt, don't panic. You might not need to call 911 for that, because they'll probably be fine. But if there's some sort of physical injury, probably best to call 911. Thank you. Do you have any other questions about that?
In my EMT class, I heard that children, they have a lot of like aura seizures. So when you were younger, did you have a lot?
No, I didn't. This was about maybe, 10 years ago. I was working at a restaurant in Atlanta, and some gas were mentioned in it. And one time I was in the kitchen and fell and left an ambulance. And that's when I quit.
A lot of people don't know.
No, they thought I was on drugs. But because I was convulsing and stuff pretty bad. And when that happens, I wet myself. But when I have an aura seizure, I don't.
Actually, that's another good symptom to look for too. I know it's a little gross, but a lot of people when they have seizures, they will wet themselves. That's usually the telltale sign. If you see that, you know something's wrong for sure. And they're definitely going to need some help. They need you to maybe come over and assist them and help them out. Right. All right. Did you have any other questions about the seizure?
You know, is there a percentage population-wise that they have that condition?
You know, I was trying to look that up a little bit.
More common than people think.
Yeah, I was trying to, before we came here, I actually tried to do some research on it, and I got a lot of, I don't know if you guys have tried to look it up, but there was a lot of, the numbers were kind of all over the place. I didn't do an exhaustive search, but I don't think they have good data on this, because a lot of people, like Todd, for example, we know his doctor knows that, but he doesn't fall into a database somewhere. So the numbers are very difficult to understand how many people have it. I think I was a little surprised to find out that there may be more people around you than you realize. And that may be the kind of the point we're trying to make, is you might be surprised. Like you probably didn't know your friend had it until it actually happens sometimes. So, and maybe that's the big message we're trying to have, is be observant, look for a bracelet, and talk to someone. Or necklace, right? Yeah, or a t-shirt, or maybe a hat, I don't know. But did you have any other questions about this? Yes? Hey.
For one of our classes, they said if we want to follow protocol, we're not supposed to administer any type of medication. So how can we get over that? Yeah.
That's a good question.
If we're in a clinical setting or anything like that, we're supposed to hand the person the medication. We're not supposed to actually put it in their mouth or
that's what he does, because he'll give it to me.
That's a good point. Thank you. Yeah.
I'm still awake, but I'm still aware.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. We've thought about that, because in his pocket he's got that file. So suppose you've gone through a situation and you've noticed someone and you've talked with them, so you've built a relationship with them, and then it actually happens. So what do you do? The biggest thing they might need help with, and that's a really great point, thank you for bringing that up, is actually finding their medicine. They might actually forgot it's on them. So if you could just get it out and remind them to it, and hand them to them, then they can usually, even if they got an aura seizure, they can still take it, themselves. I guess what I'm hearing from you is if they're a point where they can't take it themselves, then you're not supposed to administer. Is that kind of the rule?
Yeah, that's supposed to be protocol.
Protocol? That makes sense too. But at this point, I guess what we're saying is if you already talked with someone, you got a relationship with them, and you've already observed, then maybe you've already talked it out with them.
Okay.
Maybe all you would want to do is say, hey, look, do you have your medicine? You have your medicine with you. In some cases with him, I've actually just sort of reached in his pocket and pulled it out, and he'll take it, and he'll take it himself.
Okay.
But he may just need a little help remembering where it's at. But that's a good point. I guess that's the boundary you don't want to be, you don't actually put it in their mouth, right? They need to actually, that's actually a great point, thank you. Anything else on that? On seizure? We wanted to talk about that because Todd's obviously an amputee, but we figured a lot of you guys haven't had a chance to think about what would I do if I actually ran into someone who had a seizure or saw someone who had a bracelet with a seizure disorder. Should I do something? And I think the biggest message we're saying is do something. You go up and talk to them, build a relationship with them, and learn about their situation before the crisis hits. Right. That's the biggest message there about that. So, do you want to talk about the amputee part?
I guess we'll go at it upstairs.
Right. But maybe you wanted to talk about working out as an
amputee. Usually my workouts, I go arms and legs one day, chest and back the next day, yoga on Wednesday. I could do everything from upper body and leg and arms, but on the workout equipment, I could do the leg press. But on the extension, I could do it on this leg if it were higher because my amputation is below, right below the calf muscle. And on those machines, it felt like it's pushing against it. So either I could take my prosthetic off, or they could raise those bars on the extension and the leg curl. But other than that, and squats is hard because on the prosthetic, there's no ankle. But on leg press, I can because there's no end movement on I can do it probably on the squat rack, but on the freestand I can't because I'll tip over because there's no actual balance. Because I have one ankle, but there's no ankle movement in the left leg.
Have anything, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna ask, like, what kind of exercises you do to target your quad muscle on the prosthetic leg?
For which muscles?
The quad muscle on the
Usually the leg press, I do, the elliptical for 10 minutes, I do the bike for 20. And I do the leg press where you lay on your back and you put the plates on. And I do more of an extension. And sometimes I do the seated, but I like the one laying down better.
Tarryn did a video where you can see where Todd did a workout on one of his videos.
That's actually a good point. Yeah, if anybody wants to see that, just email me. I can post the link on iCollege or email it back to you guys if you want to see it. But that's pretty good because we could go up and see like a physical, like Todd demonstrating some of the exercises with some of the equipment we've got upstairs. That'd be really
Have
great.
any of you guys ever worked out with an amputee before? I've actually been involved in it or been in the gym or.
Tarryn, I've seen another gentleman at the gym. He's a really tall guy. I think he's above me. I think he's swimming, but I've never really met him.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
And,
I don't know his story.
I haven't seen him in the gym, just in the pool.
Yeah.
The next time I see him, I'll like to introduce myself.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but just by a show of hands, do you guys see them like in the fitness centers or on campus here at Georgia State?
Yes.
Just people that are amputees?
Yeah,
You have seen it?
it's motivating.
See, that was the other thing we were going to bring up too.
Yeah.
Do you think it's motivating?
Yeah.
Because I know it's motivating for me. When he started working out, I was like, I still work out anyway, but it was definitely like, well, that's definitely, it is. I think the great thing about an amputee working out is that it's inspirational, and they're okay with that, right? They're not that you want to kind of make a big deal about it, but it is inspirational. Yeah.
Would you say that no matter what, like how much you work out, that your non-amputated leg is still stronger than like?
I think it is because I favor it.
Yeah.
Right.
It is so much stronger. I'll testify to that.
No, but there's a slight difference in size, but it's still like to do more because it does help balance it out.
And you can swim, can you?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
but I take it. I don't swim with it because I'll sink like a stone.
Right.
But I do, yeah.
He's a funny story. We were at the beach, and what he does is he takes his leg off, and he puts it in a bag and wraps it up and lays it on the beach. And then he hops into the water because his one leg is a lot stronger. I don't know if he realizes, but his balance and his strength is pretty amazing. He can just like hop along, and it actually looks it's kind of graceful. It's kind of funny at first, but then, and the good thing about amputees is lots of them have a good sense of humor about it. You'll notice that. That's a pretty common thing, and so they'll have a good sense of humor about it. So while this happened at the beach, he was in the water, this couple like started coming up and looking over this thing that was obviously a leg wrapped up, and they were like freaking out. And Todd was going, "It's just my leg, it's just my leg," and they were like, and so we explained to him it was an amputee, and then they started saying, "Oh, sorry, we've been watching this show named Dexter." Kind of freaking out about it. But that's the other thing you'll find out is most amputees have a pretty good sense of humor. And they're very approachable and would enjoy talking with you about it. And so don't be bashful about asking questions like that if you want to learn from them.
You said you got amputated when you were younger. So like how do when you grow and stuff, how old were you when you got amputated?
I was 13.
Okay, so when you grow, I'm assuming you weren't this size when you were 13. So when you grow, does your leg still grow with you?
Oh, actually, because your body does, but also the stump does too. I remember after the amputation, the physical therapist asked me to walk on crutches afterwards, and it was surprisingly, my leg felt heavier. I guess probably for gravity. And then every 4 years, I got a new prosthetic because they wore out, and they get better with technology. I guess because of our vets. I remember back in the old days, they were just very uncomfortable and not cosmetic, and you had to like strap them on and those hot wool socks, but they get better all the time.
Yeah, it's ironic that a lot of the situations with wars have made amputation technology come a long way. I actually have I've been fascinated with the technology behind it more so than he has, because I have an engineering degree from Georgia Tech. That's okay, I can say that, right? But so I got really fascinated with the technology about it, and I was going to mention that in a second, is that the new tech right now for amputation is they use air pressure. Like when I first met Todd, he had actually he had a sock he would have to put on that had a screw on it. And the screw fit into the amputation, into the prosthetic. And they would snap, right?
Right,
They'd
so
have to snap together.
pop into place.
But it was not that comfortable, was it? So the latest technology they have right now is it actually uses air pressure.
This one had a pump on it. Some like them better. They would pop on, you would charge it, and it would suck all the air out. But for me, it worked against it, so I just don't use it. It's just like, you know, like just some cotton socks and like a big thick gel sock, and just pops in just a regular.
Yeah, it's almost like a polyethylene, and it creates like a vacuum. So it feels like he's walking on air. So that's been a lot better.
Much more comfortable.
Yeah, much more comfortable. But so the technology's come a long way, and that's why it allows a lot of people to work out. Some of the older technologies were not conducive to people working out. You know, they would have a tough time. That screw would come loose
Or break. And there's been times, even back in the old days, my first one, I made it was the ankle, and there was like a thin piece of like a rod on the foot, and that would break, and then the foot would break off. So I would walk on my ankle without a foot after something.
Didn't you say like he was in marching band and your leg broke?
No, I wasn't. Not that. That's why I did it, because they would broke off at school sometimes, and I would just have to like duct tape up. But that was the old days, that like in the 70s. But they get stronger all the time, so there's less breakage and repairs and stuff. So you just have to have a good sense of humor about it.
But you have to make adjustments sometimes.
A couple times a year, because of my physical activity and working out and stuff. I just adjust it, tighten it up, and lubricate it, and make sure it's right. All that.
Yeah, see this. I just wanted to mention also. I see Todd every day at the gym. Somebody had asked earlier about motivating. It really is. Before Todd and I met, and I think we've known each other now for maybe less than a year, but just for my own sake, I was like, wow, that's really impressive, because again, Todd does come in almost every day, pretty much. I mean, every time I'm there, I see you working out. And I've heard several other members just, say, wow, that's really great, just as kind of like a, just inspiration. I think that's a big key. And I was thinking about it while we were just talking here. If anybody does want to see that video of him doing, there's, I don't know, a dozen or so exercises he's doing on machines. You can actually go to his website, and he does a blog. I guess if you don't mind, Todd, maybe you can tell the folks about the
It's
blog.
called Where Easy Living Begins. It's basically about just positive thoughts, nutrition, working out, just...
Yeah, if you go to whereeasylivingbegins.com, that's Todd's blog, and we've got the video posted right there on the front.
I forgot about
You do the
that.
interview with
Yeah.
him, and then if you keep watching the video, it gets to the point where he does the workout. And you can see him actually working out in his prosthetic and kind of observe it and look at the mechanics behind it. So it's right there, whereeasylivingbegins.com. It's just more of a positive affirmation kind of site, actually.
Yeah, it's inspiring, and also, if you don't mind, Todd, maybe you can tell them about the farmer's market. I know we always plug that as well, but...
We live on Peachtree Road, not far from our gym, and on Saturdays, there's a farmer's market in the spring and summer. I go there every Saturday because of healthy food and support our farmers and stuff. I just have a full positive environment and stuff.
So, we weren't sure we're going to bring this up, but since you brought it up, so Todd, don't you feel like that because he tries to eat like organic foods a lot, and we feel like since we've taken the logs, and since he's been doing that, his seizure level's gone down. We've got, this is just our observational data, so it's not really scientific, but we found it real interesting. Like, he would have a seizure a while back when we first started this, recording him, sometimes about one a week. And we made some changes, and he just goes to this farmer's market. We buy mostly organic food that's not treated with a lot of chemicals, and now he has maybe like one light seizure a month. And lots of times, the last time he had one, he was just sitting on the couch at home, and he just couldn't talk to me for a minute. But we feel like that the eating has helped a lot. I know you hear that a lot, but that's another good reason. If you think about a person has a seizure disorder and they eat a different way and the seizures go down, it kind of tells you a lot about the kind of food we're eating, right?
I think it's all connected.
Did y'all have any other questions or any other? I don't know. Did you have any other time?
That was good. I guess if you could, did everyone get the website? If you guys are interested, or do you want their contact information? Just if you have any other questions post class.
Yeah, if you want to contact Todd, you can get it through whereeasymcgants.com. I have a blog called biologyoftechnology.com. I have a little tech company, so you can go to the contact page, and if you ever had a question for me or you couldn't get in touch with him for some reason and you wanted to, you could get me through that for my tech blog.
I just came here, but I was wondering, like, you know, as said your leg has been gone since you were 13.
Right.
How did you deal with other children in school? You know, being amputee.
Most of them were fun. Most of them were just curious.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's good.
Actually, I can interject here because I've talked to his family about this, and this sort of gets back to the thing where you might find amputees have a good sense of humor. Most of them do. Not all of them. I can't speak for all amputees, but most of them do. But his family told me that when he got his leg amputated, they were worse off than he was. You know, that his attitude kind of helped pull them through. And you've heard stories like this. Like you've heard of this Noah Galloway guy. You guys heard of him? You know, he's the guy who was on the cover. He was the vet who was on the cover of Men's Fitness. You can Google him. But he was the same way too. You know, he had a tough time with it at first, but then he sort of got to the gym, got to working out, and it helped inspire others, and then it kind of took the stigma off of it a little bit too. That may be the other biggest message we want to have is to not stigmatize it. You know, people with amputations, they're having a pretty good sense of humor about it, so they're okay with you talking with them and just getting to know. Maybe talk to them about it, ask them about it, stuff like you guys today.
Yeah, I guess my question, like, since you were born with your leg and you had up until adolescence age, like, once it was amputated, was there, like, some adjusting, like, mentally, like, trying to figure out, like, I guess, the difference between, you know, having your leg and then not?
I don't think there was because I had it since birth. And I think to me, it was more of a relief and more of a freedom. It's like having my leg being, like, in a trap or whatever, and I felt free, so it was better.
I think his situation is a little different.
It was different. Now, if you're an athlete,
most people,
that might be different. But mine was the opposite. So, my life got better after that.
He's actually been working on a post. It's most of his posts on his blog are really short and inspirational. But we worked on a long one where we were going to write the ideas. The best day of his life was when his leg was amputated, and because I think you talked about how you were out of pain, you know, and so you would think that it would be traumatic. But ironically, by learning to let his leg go and being able to release it, it actually made his life better. You know, for him. I think his family freaked out, but for him. But I think his situation is different. A lot of people you're dealing with have been like this Noah Galloway. They've been through trauma, you know, maybe through some sort of accident, and it's been difficult for them to deal with. And lots of times that's what the sense of humor is like a good way of dealing with. It's a defense mechanism.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, don't you think so?
Todd, I have a question for you. So in my business, personal trained clients, I have a lot of what we call quitters. You know, I've had people pay me big amounts of money and then I never see them again just because they quit and they have unused sessions. And so I guess for anybody in here, if they're working with other folks in the fitness industry and they run into quitters or people who are just not motivated or aren't inspired or not happy and just give up, what's some pieces or what's a really good statement of information you can give to everybody in here as to help other people stay motivated? I know you can't change people, but what can they do to help motivate others to stay inspired and not give up?
I don't know. I think that they have to do it themselves. I don't know, because just allow them, they have to do what they have to do, you know, or maybe they're just looking for other outlets. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know. What would you think?
Well, like Tarryn said, I teach spin classes. So if you guys have ever taught a group exercise class before, and you come in there and everybody's looking at you like they don't want to be there, or they're like almost pissed off at you because, you know, what you had to do. So this is a little bit different. I'm going to maybe jump in because I think Todd has done this for me. There's sort of a difference in being inspired and being motivated. Like inspiration can kind of get you moving, but motivation kind of keeps you going. So you sometimes have to ask what's stopping the problem. Do they just need a little shot of inspiration? So sometimes I'll use Todd. I'll say, look, you know, I know this guy who's an amputee and he's in the gym right now, you know, so sometimes that's just a good old-fashioned kind of inspiration, but that won't last long. You know, that's just a quick shot. So sometimes you have to find what really motivates people, and that's sort of almost case by case, don't you think? You almost have to sort of once again, get to know them a little bit, find out what would be a long-term motivation. You know, so that, I don't know if there's a quick formula for that, but it's mostly, I think, it's building a relationship with them. Does that answer your question? Or?
That's good, yeah, I like that.
I do think the one thing I would say, I have learned a big difference when I have to teach class in inspiring and motivating. Because I think motivating is a more, I know that I'm not playing with the words there, but like Todd inspires me to go to the gym, right? Because of his situation. So it gets me moving, like it gets me going there. But what keeps me going has got to be something a little bit more deeper than that. Maybe something that's more personal, maybe something that's more indigenous to that person. And that's something you almost have to kind of learn on a case-by-case basis. You probably have to do that with your clients. Which, I mean, everybody find that sort of motivational key. But don't be afraid to use somebody to get somebody. Sometimes you get somebody inspired, that kind of gets them moving. And that's maybe the most important thing.
So what's your motivation for going to the gym?
To keep moving, and not being stagnant, to have a healthier, stronger body. And just live my life just because I enjoy it. It gives me pleasure. I like going out. It makes me feel better. And maybe inspire others. Yes?
Did you have to deal with like a lot of negativity and criticism, and like how did you overcome that?
Not really.
Or some people like
Most people are kind, yeah.
even like growing up as a kid?
When I was a kid, my leg was a little leg raised, but you know, kids could be kids, and I was, you know, just, you know, pleased and stuff. But then later it was called peg leg, but that's okay. But I don't mind it now.
Yeah.
So I would say that because I'm with him, he probably doesn't realize it, but people do look. You know, it is just a natural reaction, and I think he's just gotten used to it.
It's okay.
People will look, and I think that's a natural reaction. And I think he's got learned that people are naturally curious, and that's nothing to be worried about. You know, it's just I don't think people can help it. Like, well, he'll joke sometime like we'll be out somewhere, and mostly kids, they're totally like fascinated with it. Like they just can't help but stare because they're kids. You know, and
What's not allowed?
Yeah, I think it's
like what parents said, can they touch it? Yeah.
Oh yeah. Tell that story.
Well, except where we were, and this dad was on his son and daughter, and they were looking, and they said, "Did I ask? Can they touch it?" And they go, "Sure."
The son was just this guy was like, he was probably about 7 years old, and I thought it was a great job of great parenting. So we were at Piedmont Park. That's where we were at the park, and so we were at a public location, and the father just came and started talking to us. And at first we were like, "Well, this is like nice." He goes, finally goes, "Can I ask you a question? My son seems to be totally fascinated with prostate. Would you mind if he came over and touched it?" And we thought, what a cool parenting opportunity. You know, this guy like took his son's total curiosity and turned it into a teachable moment. And the kid would just come over and give it this touch, and he was just totally fascinated by it. I think we find more people react like that. I see more people react like that, more like just curious than anything. Although I don't mind telling you, can I tell them this? So what's really funny is you guys are downtown, so you probably get people hitting on like people begging you or panhandling or whatever. We've had people actually come up to Todd, look down his leg, and then walk away. I'm too embarrassed to ask him for anything. So I always tell Todd, if we're going downtown, make sure you wear shorts.
This is my last question.
It's okay, you have more.
So, do you think like there's a correlation mentally, like by you losing your leg at such a young age? Most people be like, okay, I'm weaker now, and since you like, I don't want to be weak. Do you think your motivation is being in the gym as much as you are is to be stronger mentally as well as physically?
Absolutely, right. Yes, sir.
Are we allowed to ask personal questions?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, do you date?
Can we?
I'm
put it together.
We're.
I was like, okay.
We've been together 13 years. All right. So I think I know where you're going. It's a great question.
Okay.
It's a great question, actually. That is a very good question.
But I know you can.
Tell him.
But earlier, I used to tell first. My leg came through in '75 when Jaws came out. So I grew up in Mississippi a little bit. So I would tell a shark bit off. Then later, when I got older, I would tell people a motorcycle accident.
Which is what he told me.
Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah.
Which I thought was actually kind of cool.
It's like, because there's no medical history and it's just quick to the point, okay, motorcycle, okay. But no, that's, and people do ask me if I'm a vet, and I'll never lie about that. I've never served, I've never lied, because that's disrespectful.
But he did lie about the motorcycle accident. But are you kind of getting out, what's it like to date?
That's what I'm dating at. What's it like to date? How would you?
Most people came, it's like, most people are fine. Very, very, probably maybe 2% are like.
You had a couple of people kind of.
But no, very few.
Yeah.
Probably 2%. Most people are nice and kind and stuff.
Okay, I was sitting back there trying to put it together. Just because you sound like kind of like not like a caregiver, but like more than a caregiver, in my opinion. And so, because you say you can't drive, so do you take him everywhere, or with your I don't know what do you do? Sorry.
Oh, well, actually, we have our own business.
Okay.
So that kind of helps a lot too.
Okay.
And because it's a technology business, we work at home.
Yeah.
Which is great. We just can't justify. We have our office in our place. We have a designated for that. So so I do take him most of the places. But as Tarryn was pointing out earlier, we live right in Buckhead, so he walks everywhere. And like he jokes, he sees the GoTarryn mobile beeping at him all the time. He's walking up the street, walks to the store, and stuff like that. So he does a lot of walking on his own. But I do have to take him to doctor's appointments.
But I do more and stuff, but I can't drive big,
Yeah.
He's got the Uber app too. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now they have Uber, anyway. Okay.
So this is more of a question for him. So how is the adjustment for you living with him as an amputee? Did you have to mentally adjust to that, or was it just natural?
It's funny. When we were first started living together, I think amputees, they normalize it so much that you catch it. Like Todd never ever complains about having to get up in the middle of the night, put his leg on to go to the bathroom. I would probably complain awful about it, but then you learn from people, that's the inspirational thing, is that they normalize it so much, you get sort of caught up in their energy about that, how they handle it, how they normalize it, how they make it seem just a normal part of their life. So we really didn't have that many adjustments, I don't think. I think it's really not as big a deal as you would think, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people think you sort of get used to it, it becomes a normal part of your life. And it's sort of become a normal part of mine too, so.
I did some research on vegetable-based diets, and I adopted a vegetable-based diet. So, have you ever thought about that? Because
5 years ago, I got off beef and pork, and I lost about 5 pounds that I'm in. And I didn't do it for weight loss. I did it more for ethical reasons. And when I do organic, I try to avoid food with growth hormones, because I think that might be a link to NF. And I don't think growth hormones be cooked out. I just feel that. But I do feel better going on a more plant-based diet.
What did you find out? I'd be curious about your research, because he's researched it some too, about the vegetable bakes, yeah.
On YouTube, and I've been vegan for a couple months now, and I found that it's really helpful.
You get a lot more energy.
Yeah.
I do too. If I do eat fish, chicken is organic, but I went down to 9 inch waist. All my pants have been taken in. I didn't do it for that, but I feel good. I would like to gain a few more pounds. I'm at 139,
But I would love,
Can I share them with about your NF?
Yeah.
So this kind of plays in what you said, and we've observed this too. So NF people, besides having seizures and having tibia problems, they also have tumors. You probably can observe some of those on Todd. You can see that they have, and that is another classic symptom of NF. Their body can't metabolize like yours and mine can, so they end up having tumors. That's why he's called it the elephant man's disease. But here's what we found out, and this is what's been real interesting, is that when he started eating like foods that didn't have as much chemicals in it, organic, and he cut back on beef and pork a lot. For a while, I think you almost didn't hardly eat it at all. And then, occasionally he would maybe have some fish or chicken or something. But we noticed that, and we talked to the doctor about that his places would shrink, actually. And we thought that was fascinating. The tumors that are very classic, and a lot of people that he has friends that have NF, they have debilitating tumors. They can't leave the house, they're on their face, and stuff like that.
Well, they do, but I've noticed they have a poor diet, because I've noticed, even my brothers, they don't have NF, but they have that ulcer diet, they're all overweight, and and they have that, they don't eat healthy, but like processed food. I mean, I can get it, like, if you're in a hurry, there's nothing wrong with fast food now and then, or microwave food, but you have to eat healthy.
But we found it fascinating that his tumors actually shrunk when he changed his diet. And we thought that spoke volumes, about what's in your food. And so I think it plays into what you're saying, is that there's a lot more of these, like the processed foods, when you don't do any processed foods. He always says, it's interesting, you never go into the store.
No, I avoid the aisles. I mean, it's like, if you're gonna, all your stuff, like the veggies are on the walls, your meat's on the wall, and even your cherries on the wall. But that's,
But we thought that was fascinating, that he actually had a physiological response that we could measure about that.
What exactly is neurofibromatosis like?
It's neuro is nerves, fibrous tissue, a clump of cells.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically you have tumors inside and outside the body. You can have bone deformities. Some people, I don't like the word learning difficulties. I prefer learning differences. But everybody's different, and
so when
just born with it?
yes, it's a genetic. So when he finally told me he didn't have a motorcycle accident, he had NF. That's why he lost his leg. After he finally confessed that, I did a lot of research on it too, and it is a birth defect. And you can either get it. He got it passed from his father. So back in those days, they didn't understand it was passed as much, So his family wasn't really advised not to have kids. Now, today, a person like Todd, the doctors would be strongly advised you not to have kids because there's a high percentage your child will inherit NF. But the second way you can get it is if it can be a mutation that occurs in the womb. All right, and so lots of times this just happened to some friends of mine. They had no history of it, and they had a child born with NF, and they actually kind of reached out to me because they knew I knew a little bit about it. And it turns out this was a in vitro mutation that can occur. From what I read about it, and you guys, this is more in y'all's field, there's two, the scientists have classified, or the doctors, there's two types, and most of them either have external tumors, or the other type, it's a different gene, I think, that mutates, they're more internal. But a lot of the other common symptoms are the tibia, like Todd has, seizure disorder, and a lot of NF people have learning disabilities. Those things would be scoliosis, all that. But a lot of times if you're walking around and you see someone who may, like Todd, have tumors, that's usually an NF person.
And then you said you're level 1, so how many levels are there? And then like what's the extent?
There's 2, I think. 2 is like a little more intense.
Yeah, you guys can look it up. It seemed like years ago when I researched it, they used to think there were like 6 levels, but I think they reclassified it to 2. But you guys can maybe, y'all might look that up and see, but that's what I found. Yeah. They had 2 different levels now. They've kind of regrouped it a little bit.
I was wondering, are like prosthetics affordable, or like does insurance pay for that?